We'll start today in a little wider stance. Same rocking forward and backward. Feet balance might be a little trickier in this position. Just about 70% again. Coming back, keep toes down. And try to feel how relaxing through the low back and the hips helps keep the toes in contact with the floor. Bit of that grasping feeling automatically. Normal weight shift from side to side, releasing through the hip. I normally don't start in a wider stance. In short classes like this, it's going to run out of time to do all the warm-ups I would normally do. We've covered them in a bunch of classes so far. So if you feel necessity to bring your feet in a little bit closer, stand a little higher, feel free to do that. Make sure it's comfortable. If we can't relax, then this preparation isn't going to be very useful. Turn the hips from side to side. Shifting and turning. Relaxing through that back hip. Drop the tailbone under. And not forgetting about the upper body. So the chin's back a little bit, the crown is rising. Feel the back rounded, the shoulders sinking. Let's reverse the turn. Shift to one side, but turn the other way. Pause in the middle. Bring the hands to the low back. Sway the hips forward and back. Feel a little stretch in the front of the abdomen and then in the low back. Try to keep that feeling of the tailbone sinking under the whole time. Thinking of keeping the head, crown of the head, just about in the same spot. So the hips sway, but the head stays in position. Side to side, maybe a little more obvious. The crown of my head, right? You can see it moving a little bit side to side. Right? If I had to pick a point that's not moving, maybe it's the center of my chest, but that's literal. But I get more mileage out of thinking of the crown of my head staying in one spot. This hip sway. So it's like the swing of a bell. Big circle. Again, the crown stays relatively fixed, but obviously not stiff. You're going to see a little movement up there. Verse. Now I'm going to turn out one toe. Shift forward. This is my bow stance. 70% of the way down the front leg. Let the back leg stretch out. Little toe down, the heel, relax, back of the hip, and the front of the hip. And I tend to feel the stretch more in the front, the hip area. as much as I can, letting the hips sink under, turning the hips a little bit towards that front leg. I will feel some stretch in the back of the leg, perhaps back of the knee or the calf. The stretch I feel in the front of the hip, the inner area, is probably the most significant. And then if I shift back, I feel a different kind of stretching in the calf, a little deeper perhaps. I feel it reaching down to the ankle. Forward, it's more that outer calf muscle, the gastrocnemius. If I sit back, it's the deeper soleus muscle. Again, bring about 70% of my weight to the back leg. You'll see my front knee still has a nice strong bend. And another way of getting at that soleus muscle is to let the back heel come up and the knee bend. And then press down. A little easier maybe to target that very deep feeling in the calf. It's a little down more toward the ankle this way, right? When the leg is straight, feel it up there at the ball of the calf, thick part of the muscle. When the knee is bent, the heel's a little bit up, but I'm pressing the knee and the heel down at the same time. It's a very different feeling in the calf. I can go back to my weight shift. So I want to activate some of that same feeling each time I shift back. Try to feel the low back relaxed and a little full. When I shift forward, it's very hard to drop the tailbone under. When I sit back, it should be a little easier to feel relaxation, but also a sense of fullness, of something, right, collecting comfortably in the low back. If I put my hands there, I can feel how the low back's very gently pressing into my palms. As I go forward, it's harder to find that feeling. But as always, I'm keeping a nice level height, so there's no up and down, keeping that sitting feeling in my hips. And I'll turn out to the other side. Turning the hips toward the front. And this front angle of the hip bones, trying to make it square to the angle of the front foot, perpendicular, but not forcing it. I have to be able to relax that back hip, keep the back foot on the floor, release the weight down, and I always make sure I don't feel like I'm twisting my knee. I just, however far forward I can get with my hips without force. Sit back. Look for that different feeling in that back calf and ankle. My hips still mostly facing forward. Now, if I lift the back heel, bend the knee, press down, helps me target that deeper sensation in the calf, a little lower down, closer to the ankle. If I'm just stretching, if my feet are parallel, that's going to give me a stronger stretch high up in the calf and through the back of the knee. Might even feel it up into the hamstrings a little bit. And I can contrast that with the knee bend stretch. But if I'm shifting my weight, having the back foot parallel is considerably more challenging. It's a lot harder, right, to shift forward and back this way. It's much easier to have the toes turned out just a little bit, though that does make it harder to turn the hips straight. And each time I feel that fullness in the low back as I sit back. Always make sure the front knee stays a little bit bent, help keep that front foot anchored. And I feel very much like I'm in a track, that I'm moving straight forward and straight back, right, without swaying to the side. So if I turn to face the camera, right, you can see I'm pretty straight. Right? If you measure me against the line of the curtain there, you'll see there's a small amount of side to side, but it really feels as straight as I can manage. So I don't feel like that back hip sticks out when I'm sitting back, and when I'm forward, I don't let the front hip stick out. Nice, smooth movement. Stay in the track pretty well. Any stiffness I feel in my ankles there should flex a little bit. Toe in and toe out. Again, just in that simple weight shift, I'm using all these ranges of motion. So turn the sole of the foot in and out. It may not be obvious like this. Do that weight shift and a kind of walking, right? I need to have full range of motion of the ankle. Reverse. Make a circle with the knee. Change sides. Go in and toe out. Sole in and sole out. Reverse. Legs. Let's do just a little bit. Free up the upper body. Up, look down. And the trick here is to maintain that slightly chin back position, a gentle head retraction. That helps bring that movement down into the chest and the upper back. That helps keep the crown feeling lifted throughout. Trying to let everything open and release right all the way down through the hip. Circle. Some shoulder movements forward and back, and shoulders back, and also a little down toward the mid back. Draw one shoulder down, let the other pop up. And like two plates of a scale, balance scale. Circle the shoulders. Shoulders warm and relaxed. Things moving all the way down, even through the hands. Like got the hands and fingers, just from freeing up the shoulder. Okay, so back into a horse riding stance now. Sit down a little bit. Add the hands shifting and turning. 70% shift and turn to the other side. So shift, then turn. They're connected smoothly. There's no break between them, but I don't let them overlap too much. Okay. So when I keep them separate, I start to feel like the hands are making a figure-8 pattern. Okay. But not because I'm moving from my arm and shoulder, just turning from the hips. And all the movement coming from hips and legs. Hands are just carried along. They're not rigid though, so I will feel a little adjustment. Right? As I sit back, I feel the hands settle in just a hair, and as I turn, it feels like they're thrown back out away from the body very slightly. But that's relatively passive movement. Right? It feels like it's being done to the hands, not something I'm doing from my arm and shoulder. Again, with each sitting back movement, I may feel a little bit of comfortable fullness in the back. I may be feeling full and relaxed, right? Maybe a little warm. When I turn, I might feel more something in the front of the abdomen. So I start to feel this exchange, front to back and side to side. And I might eventually feel that this figure-8 I see in the movement of the hands, I start to feel kind of movement like that in the abdomen. It's not something I'm going to work hard to achieve, but I'm just going to pay a little attention to the deep abdomen as I do this, see what I notice. I can also reverse movement, pushing forward, then keeping my weight over here as I turn back. The end of that push forward, I feel it's pushing the hands a little bit as well. But it's pretty subtle. As soon as I try to do anything with my arms, I'm overdoing it quite a bit. Something happens without that intention to do something. Something I can notice and feel, but I'm not trying to do. Let's toe out into the bow stance again and just sit forward and back. And after a few weight shifts, you may notice that sitting back sort of lifts the hands a little bit, and then they start to settle down. Then shifting forward at first presses them down a little bit more, and then they release back up. There's a very subtle, almost circular movement. It's not very round in this sense. So it's more of a very narrow oval movement. And the main idea is it has some roundness to it. And now, no matter where I am in the movement, my shoulders and my hips, they're both sinking, softening and sinking. And this gradually forms a connection between the shoulders and hips. So when I'm forward, particularly, I could feel like my shoulders are hiking up a little bit, right? Or my hips start to lift and I start to stand up tall. I see a little bit of delay in the connection today. So if there are any hesitations in the video, I apologize. So as the hands push forward, yeah, you see it suddenly speeding up. It's not because I'm speeding up. That's just the hang in the video. You probably can figure that out for yourself. That softening and sinking of the hips is probably the most important place to pay attention for it is at the end of that push forward. That's the place it's easiest to lose it. Sitting back, it's a little easier to soften and sink everything. Sitting back, one of the main things to watch out for is I don't let that front leg slacken out. Let's change sides. And just to really be Tai Chi walking, the arms have to be involved somehow, keeping the choreography extremely simple. And I wouldn't even call this circular movement choreography. Not of the hands, right? So I'm not intentionally doing anything with my arms except just sort of hanging them there in front of the body and trying to feel how when I shift, they feel a little heavier, pressed down, and then as I finish that weight shift, they release up, coming up over the top. But it's very hard not to do the extra mental work to try to make that circle happen. So if there's any mental effort here, it's in not doing that circle. It's in not trying to do it on purpose and trying to just let it develop spontaneously. Then finally, let's get to the walking. For a moment, I'll leave the hands out so you can review the basic walking. So then I'm going to prepare a little bit this time. Thinking of sinking the weight in such a way that it lifts the shoulders. So this is tall order in the beginning. Just think of the shoulders and the hips sinking down, all the weight sinking down into the floor. And as I release my weight into the floor pushes back up at me. That's quite literal, right? That's just basic physics. Why is it when the earth is pulling on my body weight, do I not fall to the center of the earth? Well, something's in the way. Well, what does that really mean? It means there's something that's in the way, in this case, the floor, is pushing me back up, right? With a force that's equal to my weight. Right, so if I weigh 180 pounds, the floor is pushing up on me with 180 pounds worth of force. That's a literal fact. Can we connect to the feeling of it? Right? One thing for it to just be an idea. But as I feel my weight sinking down, right? I weigh 180 pounds no matter whether I'm tense or relaxed. That doesn't change how much I weigh. But it makes a big difference to the feeling, right? The feeling of my weight, the feeling of my weight flowing down into the floor, and then listening for the way in which the floor is pushing back up at me. And if I can feel that lift, imagining that it's that lift that is lifting the arms that comes from the floor. As the hands come up, the shoulders are sinking, the hips are sinking. And then we're going to let the elbows and knees start to bend a little bit. And I'm going to release my weight down through the arms, feeling getting down through the feet again, down through the hands, as if, right, I'm standing four-footed. And this is the Tai Chi commencement, minus a little bit of footwork, minus a step out. We'll look at that another day. So if I'm in that position, just leave my hands right where they are for now. Remember, as we turn, both hips are opening up. If I turn back, I turn to the other side. Both hips are swinging open like hinges. And that leaves one of my legs nice and stable, like a post. Now, as I do this, head still back, shoulders and hips are still sinking, maintaining that same posture, same quality. Feeling like the lower body is a little heavier than the upper body. The upper body becomes very light, as relaxed as possible, but with good support. Right? So, what is it that helps me keep my head back? Is that me tensing my neck muscles? Or is it something rising up, right, the front of the body, creating lift, opening up my posture? Not pushing the chest up. Now I start to feel all these muscles start to get tight, right? Now it feels like I'm working for it. I want to get that feeling free. If I imagine my hands are resting on the floor, right, then I start to feel some of that lift coming up to open up the shoulder and relieve tension there for free. So releasing my shoulders starts with just a relaxing down movement. Really starts with the right head carriage, the right shape of my spine that allows me to start to release some of the muscular tension around my neck and shoulders. But then eventually I start to feel some of that lift coming up through the body. Right? Coming up through the legs, it's quite literal. It's force that's coming up from the floor. Okay? In the hands, maybe it's something a little different if we're being literal, but the feeling is exactly the same. That's the important thing. The position of the hands, the palms facing the floor a little bit. Right? Initially, I really think all about relaxing down. Eventually, I start to feel there's a little return, there's a little lift, something complementary. So I get that complementary feeling in the whole body. This time I'm turning out, shifting the weight, let that back hip open. And then again, we step up to our transitional step. And when I turn to the front a little bit, this foot swings back and out, so I have a little width. Turn out, open the hips. That really is quite essential to leave that back leg where it is, nice and stable. Once I've turned out, then all the weight shifts forward, step up. Turn to the front. The back foot needs to, it can pivot a little bit. Stay on the front leg. Turn out, swing the hips open. Step up. So here we're still, as we do the walk, just pushing forward the whole time. It's very relaxed, relatively passive, but not limp. Keep jumping to the next stage of the walking exercise. Just turn out, open that back hip. Out. Squaring the hips to the front. Relaxing through the back of the hips from the low back. Turn around. And today, for the end of the class, we're going to add one step. I'll face the camera again. Do it. So we were doing a bunch of shifting forward and back in the bow stance right at the beginning. And I take that first step again. Instead of just keeping my weight forward and toeing out, this time I'm going to sit back. So about 70% on the back leg, and then I'm going to toe out. Open up both hips. Shift forward. Stretch that back hip out. Relax down through the hip, low back. Step up. Step out. Turn to the front. So I'm square, right? And the weight shifting still feels like I'm on a track. Nice and even, nice and level. Again, I'm going to sit back before I toe out. And I know you're losing sight of that front foot. So do the side view in a minute, then shift forward and step up. So I've added, right, a little more choreography to the step. It's the same up to here. And then I sit back. And as I sit back, the most important thing to watch out for is that I don't let that hip sway out to the side. I keep it right over my heel. I come back along that track. Open up the hips, looking a little bit out to the side. Shift forward 70%, and then step up, which requires me, of course, to come to 100%. Turn a little to the front, step out, and I'm walking a straight line. So all this left, right, forward, backward. I don't want it to confuse the fact that I'm ultimately just walking straight forward. Toe out. So this is just the transition. I start to turn to the front again. As I shift the weight forward, I finish turning my hips forward, however far as is comfortable and forced, and then sit back. Feel the way that sort of loads the deep calf, the low back a little bit. So out, open the hips. Turn around. So this is the full choreography of what they typically call the beginner's Tai Chi Walk. Probably should have managed to get to it in that first run of 8 weeks, but here we are, week 9. I do still feel like I'm rushing it a little bit this week, adding a lot of new information. Again, open the hips, toe out. Push forward again, stretch out, relax through the whole low back, the hip. Step up, and be very careful not to stand up straight. Keep the knee bent. Turning to the front, step out. Nice and straight forward, right along the track. Keep that back foot planted, the little toes down. Sit back, right along the track. Try not to sway out. Toe out. Stay down. So each stage of the movement has a very typical way of going off the rails a little bit, so to speak. So When I'm turning out one foot, it's very easy to let the back knee get twisted or the hip to sway out. So that's the main issue I'm looking at there. When I step up with the feet parallel, it's very easy to just stand back up straight. So there, that's the issue I'm being careful of. When I'm stepping forward, it's very easy to just end up with one foot right in front of the other and not get a good width side to side. So there, I have to turn a little bit to the front to make it easy to get the proper width. And as I push forward, keeping that back foot relaxed downward, relaxing the back of the hips. Sit back, again, not swaying out to the side. That is the main idea, not just when I'm sitting back, but as I mentioned, when I'm turning out. Shift forward, continue to relax down. Both the forward weight shifts feel pretty similar, right? This just has a bigger stretch of the hip. And when I step up, don't stand up, stay down. Sit back. If it's comfortable, if you start to feel like when you sit back, your front toes are coming up off the floor, that's fine. Right? The front foot doesn't have to stay flat on the floor. The toes can come up. They're not happening automatically. We're not going to worry about that too much. However, we end up with the toe out. Right, see, keeping that level height. I aim the camera a little lower today. You can see my feet more clearly, but my head's close to the top of the screen, right? So it's giving you a sense of, right, if I stand up all the way, right, there's the top of my head right at the top of the screen. I'm saying under the top of the screen. Initially, that often feels like a lot of choreography, which is one of the reasons we spend a lot of time working up to it. It's got a lot of moving pieces, but it's not choreography safe, right? We should have a sense of why we're sitting back. What does that get me? The way sort of works on the deep calf and the ankle. Right? Opens up the low back. Right? It's not just about following a pattern. Each part of the pattern has a certain thing we're developing in the body. Now I turn out, I'm opening up, right, working on the external rotation of the hips, that kind of gentle stretch. Shift forward, release the front of the hip now. So I try to keep the tailbone dropping under. And so this back leg is rotated and extended. Two kinds of stretching going on. And throughout this walking, I don't want to feel any stress in my knees. Right? So if I feel any stress in my knees or in my low back, it means I've lost the posture. Chances are, right, that I'm not releasing some tension, key tension in the body, and that's creating a muscle imbalance. So that the support I should be feeling coming up from the ground is not coming up from the ground. That when something's tight, causes the body to kind of sag in funny ways, right? The knees, the hips, they end up at funny angles. And so I don't get the right muscle balance. I don't get that right balance between releasing down to the floor and getting some lift and support for free, the kind of support that's going to protect the joints. Right? So I definitely want to feel a little work right in the thicker parts of the leg muscles as I'm doing this, but not so much around my knees. So finding the little adjustment I need to make to avoid any of that difficulty, right? So let's just Do some leg raises. Thank you.